Great to see you, Anthony. It looks like we're going to be sharing stories today about reinventing the way we do certain things in hotels. What do you think about that?
We're reinventing things. I'm back in the library doing all my research.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live, or in this case, No Vacancy Recorded. Anthony, I feel like we're doing a lot of these recorded shows because we're just so busy these days.
Yes, we are, and that's a good thing. And it also reminds me that we have to fix our intro, because our intro, I think, is 37 years old at this point.
Yeah, we really got to redo that. And to be fair, we've only been talking about that for about 18 months. So,
Well, I think it's 19 months. Because as I'm looking through the intro, I don't think there's anybody in the intro that's in the job they had when they were on the video.
And you can see all my hair poofing from COVID days and stuff like that. But yeah, we got to put something better together, I think. We'll get that on the list. But you know what? We have to reinvent the way we do our opening credits, much in the like that the hotel industry continues to reinvent technology in this business. And we were recently at the high tech event. And Anthony, when you and I were doing our keynote speech, we really talked about the fundamentals of adding more of that human element in technology. And sometimes we need a little bit better advice when it comes to things that we're going to be doing in a community in a hotel, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's got to be friction-free. My least favorite word, well, second least favorite word, but it's true. It's got to be easy, it's got to work, and it's got to be something the guest wants. And also, Glenn, today you look a little shorter. Like, you look like you're looking...
Yeah, let me get an Apple box. Oh, nope, that's not working. Hold on. How's that? Am I a little taller now? Yeah. All right. So, all right. One of the things that people love in hotels more than anything are all-in-one guest terminals. The whole idea of being able to be productive on your own, because there's a lot of reasons why you still want to use business centers in properties. But the good news is our friends over at TTI Technologies are continuing to push that forward and adding more value to the products that they have. So let's welcome to the show, Mr. Steve Blidner. He's the CEO at TTI. Steve, how are you doing today, man?
Doing well, gentlemen. How are you?
Good. Great to see you.
Jenny Porter.
Well, I've not met you before.
No, I think we just met a couple of days ago.
Yeah, we were doing hotel math, and how I do my hotel math is how old was I when I was a general manager. So my first hotel GM job was when I was 29. No, wait, 29? Yeah, 29. So we figure I'm 59 now, so we're figuring almost 30 years I know you.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah,
it's a very long time.
I'll tell you, one thing I've been doing in hotels for a long time, Steve, is using business centers or, all-in-one guest terminals and that sort of thing. But one of the things that I found is a super weak spot in the hotel industry, and this is what we're getting to because you've solved this problem, is when I'm in a new city or a city I've been to a couple of times, I want to eat great meals that are nearby the hotel, for example. But I find that staff doesn't really seem to know what's on websites. It doesn't really help me at all. And worse yet, if I go onto some of the traditional apps, I just don't really trust those reviews because I have a very specific point of view when it comes to my food, which is a lot different than a lot of customers out there.
Look, that's why we created this solution.
Yeah. Anthony, you say something before we let him begin?
I'm offended that you say that people at the front desk don't know where to eat. I'm offended.
Yeah, as we should all be offended by it because it's something that should have been corrected decades ago. A lot of times it hasn't. Steve, take it away, sir.
Okay, it's just not restaurants. It's all type of venues, children's activities, museum, anything that you could think of in the local area.
Steve, I was thinking food because that's really the only thing that drives me. Sometimes, eating food in parks is nice, so I can combine the two. I like that.
It'd be nice, but, Glenn, other people like other things besides food.
Yeah, but it's not about you. Come on. All right. I'll acknowledge that. So a little bit more about your solution now is meeting all people's needs.
Okay, so we decided that we want to promote and we want to adjust our software on the business center terminals to be more like a guest service terminal. So what does that mean? It means that you have the option of a business center, full desktop like you had before, and you also have mobile printing. You also have boarding passes. And the new software piece, and it's optional, but most people seem they want it, is to do the interactive concierge, also known as Icon. And what that does basically, besides as you could see on the screen, they can go and they could see what the hotel offers as a checkout and all that, is that the hotel has the ability to have their own website, their own URL, and what they can do is that they could put their own recommendations in that web terminal, and this way the guest can see what the hotel recommends. For instance, this is the Belvedere Hotel as an example. And part of the Belvedere Hotel is that restaurant. So if someone types up local restaurants, they will receive this as their first choice. Or if the hotel wants other choices, they will receive that as well. Now, if there's nothing listed on that specific recommendation that the guest does not want, they click a certain link that's offered right below that, and they will get a more specific feedback for such as, do you want an expensive restaurant? You need handicap accessible? Do you want something that's kid friendly? And then it will go and reach out and then have some more recommendations. And it's great. You can do this with anything.
Yeah, I love this. Anthony, this sounds like a really smart solution because it's going deeper than some of the sites that we've seen out there. Plus, when you talk about curating information out there for the guests, it really works.
And it's about consistency, making sure that the person, the general manager, who's ever in charge, is kind of getting in front of the guests what they want, not having 17 different opinions and people kind of being inconsistent with their requests. Because a lot of the people that work at hotels, they go to the hotel and then they go to their local restaurant where they live, and they can live 30 minutes away from a hotel. And so it really puts everything on, whether it be an attraction or a restaurant, everything on consistently. So the guest the worst thing you can do in the hotel business is recommend a venue or a restaurant, and the guest comes back to the desk and you see that look in their eye and you're hiding behind the desk going, oh no. Yeah. Right. Worst thing they can do.
Well, the way this really started was about 3 years ago. Myself and my sales team went to a brand show, and we stayed at a local hotel, and we went to the front desk at the end of the first day, and we wanted a good meal to relax and a couple of drinks to unwind. And I went to the front desk clerk, and this person said, hey, I got this great recommendation. You have to go there. Tell them so-and-so sent you. Okay. And we walk in thinking it's a really nice Italian restaurant. It's a glorified pizzeria. Now, I don't have anything against a glorified pizzeria, but my sales team did because they expected a great meal. Right. So we sat down and they start serving us food, and all of a sudden, fruit flies start circling our food. And I said, okay, now if I'm not in the hotel business, I would have gone back to that front desk person and I would have complained. I would have called management, but being in the business, I get it. But that is also a poor reflection on the hotel if that's what your front desk recommends. So that's how my idea started.
Yeah, and that front desk probably got this kickback if you mentioned his name.
I think he got a couple of pizzas.
Yeah.
There was for the staff.
Something like that. And that's unfortunate because they have a personal relationship. Listen, there are people in the neighborhood when I'm running hotels that I'm very close friends with, because I go there a lot. And maybe I'm a little skewed because I get treatment or food that maybe somebody doesn't because I'm a regular guest and they know I have a hotel that can send a lot of people. So it's not the best. It's not the best environment. And I've had that a million times. And I'm like you too. If I'm complaining, you lit my hair on fire because I don't complain.
Yeah, I'm not a complainer either, but just think how that reflects on the hotel.
Right. You're absolutely right, Steve. It does reflect poorly. And the fact of the matter is, with so much turnover in our industry, it's really hard to get people at that front desk to be experts, representatives of your hotel brand right there. So a solution like this, Steve, really serves dual purpose. It alleviates that problem that you have at the front desk, allowing that person to just have good human interactions one-on-one, while crowdsourcing from people on the team that really know the neighborhood could help create a little bit a little bit deeper, more of an experience for customers. Can't help but think I mentioned parks, for example. I really love going on hikes in parks or just being in a park, for example. And I remember when my kids were younger, I would always ask about playgrounds and stuff like that. So to be able to tap into something like that really simply, particularly if there's a long line at that front desk, I think is a great way for us to be able to get what we need really quick with the confidence of having a recommendation.
Right. And, like we mentioned before, just how many people at the front desk really live locally. They don't. So they really have no knowledge of the areas. And I've had this numerous times when I've asked a question. They just look at you with a blank stare on their face. They just can't answer.
Yeah. Or they'll just say, sorry, I don't live here. Anthony?
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why can't somebody just flip on their phone and just kind of find their own place?
You can, but as Glenn said at the beginning, who knows if it's an advertised recommendation, and there's no interactive there. Here, at least you could be more specific instead of searching through your app. And it's a bigger screen, and if you needed to print something out, you could print something out. It has those type of advantages.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, Anthony, go on.
I think it's something that really helps the hotel because we all know turnover in the front desk right now is crazy.
That's right.
And most people cut out their budgets for training, which is even crazier. So, and most people just try to survive and learn the property management system, learn the standards of the hotel. And, unfortunately, the concierge kind of level of service is unfortunately, it's few and far between.
Yes, and I've also spoken to hotels that have, luxury hotels that have a concierge during the day, but they like this for at night when people come in. So there's something that can be looked at, something that could be recommended, and that's where the hotel concierge can actually go to the web and the URL we provide, I should say, and they can put in their own recommendations.
All right, but listen, if you really try to stand out from the competition in your neighborhood, Steve, this is what I'm thinking about with select service hotels and stuff, because that team isn't really equipped to be able to deliver the type of information we're giving to these people out there. So that's why I think it's pretty cool, because not only is it going to help folks and aid concierges that are out there, but really create a new category of providing information, removing that friction from the guest experience. And you people out there know that if you're at a general select service hotel, you're not going to be creating an app for your hotel to drive all that information. And so that all-in-one guest terminal really becomes that resource for you to connect closer to the guest in a frictionless way. Does that sound right, Steve?
It sounds right, Glenn. And the other thing about it, too, about this whole solution is that mobile printing is a big thing today. So why have a separate mobile printing tablet or separate solution? We could have an all-in-one. So they just go to one particular computer and have everything instead of the guest service agent or the front desk attendant, however you want to say that, doing everything for them and trying to explain how it works. Just go to the computer and it's self-explanatory.
Steve, I think you're smarter today than you were 30 years ago.
Well, 10 times 0 is still 0. So you can't go by
that. That's too funny. Steve, while you're here, why don't you just tell us a little bit about the rest of your organization and what you folks are doing with like ID passport scanners and lottery tablets and all that kind of.
Right. Well, the big thing beside the business centers are the ID passport scanners. And that's where you go to the front desk and as a guest, you hand the identification and the agent takes it, puts it on a scanner, and our software takes that information, including the image, off the actual identification and puts it securely into the property management system. We are approved and we are certified with over 30 PMS companies, and it's very easy, quite frankly. We provided an API to, do the solution.
I should say it's not just passports, any government ID from all over the world. So I'm typically walking around with my New York State license because now that I got real ID, I want to show it off to all my family.
Right. And we use an OCR company that's the biggest in the world, and they do all the major airports and venues. So the OCR engine is very strong, and it supports thousands.
Yeah, that's really big in Europe. When you go to Europe, the front desk does that. They take your Yeah.
But you know what growth now is in America? There
Really?
are so many problems with chargebacks, and there's so many problems with people trashing the room that we actually created a do not rent list. So, and you can share that with your sister properties. So let's say for the sake of argument, which would apply to probably, I don't know, either of you two, you trash your room and then your name is on the list and you go back to that hotel or any of their sister hotels, there's a warning popping up, do not rent. And there's a reason you could put in there too. So just think about that.
Wow. Now I understand why there's 8 out of 10 hotels I can't walk into anymore.
I was going to say, actually, I thought it was 9.
Well, Steve, you and I have to talk because I may be able to use that technology.
Okay.
So how do people find you? What's going on? Tell people how to get in contact.
Well, basically, most of our growth comes from referrals, and we're on some of the brand, we're approved by some of the brands, so they look up on the list. But basically, just email us at sales@ttitel.com, and myself or one of our sales team members will be more than happy to discuss our various products. We have some cool stuff coming out too with the scanners. Barcode, there's really some cool stuff.
That's great because I think that technology is really going to come to the fore, and it's great that you're continuing to look forward, even as you've had this company for so many decades.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, and it really just shows how flexible you are because something you created 30-something years ago at this point to still be relevant when it comes to technology today really illustrates that you're forward thinking and continuing to adapt as time changes. So,
well, the good thing about it, besides really having a great team behind us, is that my son Neil's been with me for about 20 years. And it's kind of fun. Yeah, it's kind of fun working together and building up a company.
That's really awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the time.
Hey, thank you. All right, have a great day. Anthony, that was really interesting. I just love when people don't allow themselves to get pigeonholed into doing one thing and continue to move forward.
In this business, selling into hotels is very difficult. And getting on the brand's, approved list is very difficult. But, he's very tenacious and it shows.
Yeah, it sure does. And even if you guys aren't tenacious out there, here's one simple thing you can do. You can follow us and learn every single day by getting our audio podcast wherever you get your shows. And of course, you could watch the video version of our show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and NoVacancyNews.com. Find all of our old shows over there. All right, Anthony, it's time to get out of here. And remember, everybody got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
see you later.